As a retired physician with over 30 years of experience working closely with older adults, I've witnessed many aspects of aging that rarely get spoken about openly, especially the silent struggles that chip away at one's quality of life. Today, I want to talk about something that many avoid. Something so deeply personal yet profoundly vital: intimacy after 60. What I'm about to share may shock you, unsettle you, or even challenge long-held beliefs. But it's a truth that has quietly haunted far too many lives, including those of my patients and possibly yours. You see, if you're in your 60s, 70s, or even your 80s and intimacy has faded from your life, this isn't just a passing phase or something that naturally happens with age. It's far more serious than you might think. The loss of intimacy doesn't just affect your relationships or your sense of self, it can stealthily steal your health, your vitality, and the very essence of what keeps you connected to life. For many, it is the unseen thief that accelerates decline without warning. I recall a patient named George, a retired math teacher in his early 70s, who came to me troubled by memory lapses and a fog he couldn't shake. At first glance, he seemed perfectly fine physically and cognitively. Yet, beneath the surface, something was slipping away. When he shared that he hadn't been intimate since the passing of his wife 5 years prior, it clicked for me. The connection between intimacy and brain health is profound and often underestimated. Intimacy, in its many forms, fuels our brains with essential stimulation. It promotes blood flow, triggers the release of dopamine and oxytocin, the very chemicals that brighten mood, enhance memory, and protect against cognitive decline. Without it, the brain begins to age faster than it should. It's not just about sex or physical touch, it's about connection, closeness, and feeling alive. When those are missing, the mind dims, motivation wanes, and loneliness seeps in. But the risks don't stop there. The physical body suffers too. Without intimacy, the heart loses a vital workout, circulation slows, hormones fluctuate dangerously. Men face plummeting testosterone, leading to fatigue and depression, while women experience drops in estrogen and oxytocin, increasing risks like osteoporosis and mood swings. These changes creep in slowly, barely noticeable at first, until they manifest as weight gain, muscle loss, poor sleep, and declining independence. Too often, these symptoms are dismissed as normal aging, when in truth they may be the silent consequences of disconnect. Perhaps most heartbreaking is what happens to relationships and self-worth. I met Margaret, a woman in her mid-70s. Caring for her husband after cancer treatment had changed everything between them. She told me, with tears in her eyes, how much she missed feeling like a partner rather than a caregiver. That quiet distance, that unspoken loneliness even in the presence of loved ones, is a wound that breaks hearts slowly. It chips away at identity, at confidence, and at the simple joy of being desired. What I want you to understand is this: losing intimacy is not just a private sorrow or a romantic issue. It's a multifaceted health concern that touches the brain, the body, and the soul. And here's the harsh truth: many people don't hear about these dangers until it's too late. But I am here to tell you it's never too late to start again, to reclaim connection and revive the parts of yourself that feel lost. If you're willing to listen, if you're ready to confront this often taboo subject, I promise there is hope. The path to rekindling intimacy, in whatever form that may take, is open to you. No matter your age, your past, or your circumstances, the desire to feel alive, seen, and connected never truly fades. It may be buried, but it's still there waiting to be awakened. Before we move forward, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and tap the notification bell. Supporting this work motivates me to continue sharing insights and stories that can make a real difference in your life and the lives of others. Together, we can break the silence and face these truths with courage and compassion. Now, I want to leave you with a simple question to reflect on. Think deeply about this. Which statement resonates most with you right now? Intimacy is a vital part of my health and happiness, and I want to explore how to reconnect. B, intimacy feels like a thing of the past, and I'm not sure it matters anymore. Please share your answer by commenting A or B below. Your voice matters, and your honesty will help guide this community toward healing and understanding. Thank you for trusting me with your time and attention. The journey ahead may be challenging, but it's also filled with promise. Let's walk it together. As a physician who has dedicated decades to caring for the aging population, I have come to understand that the brain is one of the most vulnerable organs when intimacy fades from a person's life. This is not merely about emotional well-being. It is a physiological reality that touches the very essence of how we think, remember, and experience the world around us. Allow me to share what I have seen and learned about the intimate connection between our brains and the presence or absence of closeness and intimacy. I remember a patient named George. At 72, he was sharp in many ways but troubled by a growing sense of mental fog. He struggled with simple things, forgetting names, losing focus, feeling distant from the sharpness that once defined him. His tests showed no sign of dementia or any obvious neurological disease. Yet beneath the surface, his brain was signaling distress. The missing piece in his story was that since his wife's passing 5 years earlier, George had not experienced any form of intimacy. Not a touch, a hug, or physical closeness, nothing that could stir the deep, silent chemical symphony that intimacy awakens in the brain. This isn't anecdotal. It's backed by science and something I have witnessed repeatedly. Intimacy, including sexual activity, but not limited to it, is one of the brain's most potent stimulators. When you engage in close affectionate contact, your brain responds with increased blood flow to areas responsible for memory, learning, and emotional processing. Chemicals such as dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins flood your system. These are the neurotransmitters that lift your mood, reduce stress, and play a protective role against cognitive decline. Without this stimulation, the brain begins to lose vitality. The neural circuits that once fired actively become dormant. Dopamine levels, which regulate motivation and pleasure, decline, leaving the person feeling less engaged, less curious, and less alive. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, decreases, and with it, the warmth of connection that nourishes the mind and spirit. I've seen how this subtle fading leads to more serious problems. The risk of cognitive decline and early dementia rises not only because of aging, but because the brain is deprived of essential stimulation. Many seniors report feeling a kind of mental slowdown that goes beyond simple forgetfulness and emotional numbness, a lack of interest in the world around them. It's heartbreaking because this is not an inevitable part of aging. It is a consequence of losing something fundamental to human experience. Intimacy keeps the mind active and engaged. It's not about youthfulness or physical performance. It's about maintaining the circuits that govern emotion, memory, and learning. When those circuits remain engaged through regular connection, the brain is more resilient. When they do not, the brain becomes vulnerable to decline. It's also important to understand the emotional ripple effects. People who lose intimacy often withdraw from social life. They stop seeking new experiences and avoid engaging with friends or family. This withdrawal exacerbates cognitive issues, creating a vicious cycle where the brain suffers both from chemical deprivation and lack of stimulation. From my experience, the challenge is that many people do not recognize the signs until the decline is advanced. They may dismiss memory problems as just aging, or believe that loss of interest and motivation is a natural phase of getting older. But these are cries for help from the brain, a warning that the body needs connection and stimulation to thrive. What can be done? The good news is that the brain has remarkable plasticity. Even in older adults, new neural connections can form, and cognitive function can improve with the right interventions. Reintroducing intimacy, whether through physical touch, emotional closeness, or renewed relationships, can spark the brain back to life. It is never too late to nurture these connections. Simple acts like holding hands, hugging, or sharing meaningful conversations can release those precious neurochemicals. These small, consistent moments of intimacy not only brighten the mind but also restore a sense of purpose and belonging. In the years I practiced, I saw patients who rekindled relationships or formed new bonds experience a resurgence of mental clarity and emotional vitality. They reported feeling more awake, more engaged, and more hopeful. Their brains were responding to the revival of intimacy as a powerful medicine, one that no pill or therapy could fully replace. As a doctor, I urge you to listen to your mind and your heart. If you notice signs of mental fog, loss of motivation, or emotional withdrawal, consider the role intimacy may or may not be playing. It's a piece of your health puzzle that is too important to ignore. In the journey of aging, maintaining brain health is about more than diet or exercise. It's about preserving the connections that feed the soul and spark the mind. Intimacy is not a luxury. It is a necessity for a vibrant, fulfilling life. If you've read this far, I encourage you to reflect. Are you nurturing the connections that your brain needs to stay healthy? If not, what small step might you take today to begin restoring that vital bond? Remember, the mind is more than a memory bank. It is the gateway to how we experience love, joy, and connection. Protect it by protecting your intimacy. I will continue to share with you how this intimate connection affects other aspects of health and what you can do to reclaim it. But for now, hold on to this truth. Your brain depends on closeness, and that closeness is within your reach, no matter your age. As a physician who has spent decades walking alongside patients through the complexities of aging, I have observed that the physical consequences of losing intimacy extend far beyond what most people expect. It is not just an emotional or psychological void. It is a profound biological shift that affects the very fabric of your health, your circulation, your hormones, and ultimately, your body's ability to sustain vitality. I recall a couple I once cared for, Linda and Carl, who had shared nearly 4 decades of life together. Over the last 5 years, their physical closeness had quietly faded, almost imperceptibly. Carl began to feel less like himself. His energy waned, muscles weakened, and the pounds crept on. They both believed this was just a natural part of growing older, something they had to accept. But in truth, the loss of their physical intimacy was playing a far greater role than either realized. The human body thrives on movement, on stimulation, and intimacy is one of the most natural forms of this vital interaction. When physical connection disappears, the cardiovascular system suffers in silence. Sexual arousal and closeness increase blood flow, not just to the heart but throughout the body. This promotes vessel elasticity, oxygen delivery, and overall circulation that supports every organ's health. Without this, circulation slows, blood vessels become less responsive, and the heart no longer receives the subtle exercise it once did. It's as if a vital spark dims within the body. What many do not realize is that intimacy acts as a form of gentle exercise, one that elevates heart rate, improves lung function, and stimulates muscles in a way that supports strength and endurance. Without it, physical decline accelerates. Muscle mass diminishes, metabolism slows, and fatigue takes hold. This decline is not an inevitable fate. It is a consequence of losing a key form of movement and stimulation. Hormones, too, are profoundly affected. Testosterone, often misunderstood as merely a male hormone, plays a critical role in maintaining energy, muscle mass, mood, and cognitive function in men. Without regular sexual stimulation, testosterone levels can plunge, bringing fatigue, weight gain, irritability, and even depression. I have seen men become shadows of their former selves, not because of illness but because their hormonal balance had shifted quietly over time. For women, the decline of estrogen and oxytocin after menopause is well known, but what is less understood is how intimacy sustains these hormones. Oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone, is crucial for bone health, joint lubrication, and mood regulation. When intimacy wanes, estrogen and oxytocin levels drop, increasing the risk of osteoporosis, joint pain, and mood disorders. These changes are subtle at first but can have life-altering effects: loss of mobility, chronic pain, and emotional instability. I have often witnessed how these hormonal shifts lead to a slow but steady erosion of independence. Walking becomes more difficult, sleep patterns disrupt, and the motivation to stay active fades. This physical decline becomes a feedback loop. Less activity leads to weaker health, which leads to further withdrawal. Too often, these symptoms are mistakenly attributed solely to getting old, when in reality, they may be signals of a body deprived of intimacy's life-sustaining influence. Importantly, this isn't about the mechanics of sex. It's about connection, presence, and physical touch. You do not need to engage in intercourse to reap the benefits. Simple gestures, holding hands, cuddling, gentle massage stimulate hormone release and promote circulation. These small acts can awaken pathways in the body that have lain dormant, reigniting vitality and balance. From my years in practice, I can tell you that the longer intimacy is absent, the harder it is for the body to restore itself. Rebuilding circulation and hormonal harmony takes time and care, but it is possible at any age. Patients who embrace gentle physical connection often report increased energy, improved mood, and a newfound desire to engage with life. This physical renewal is not just about adding years to life. It's about adding life to years. A strong, balanced body supports independence, confidence, and the ability to enjoy daily activities. It allows you to embrace your golden years with vigor rather than resignation. So, I urge you to consider intimacy as a cornerstone of your health regimen, not as a luxury or a fading memory, but as an essential practice for maintaining your body's rhythm and resilience. If you find that physical closeness has diminished in your life, seek ways to reintroduce it in whatever form feels comfortable. This can be the gentle touch of a loved one, a new friendship that offers warmth, or even self-care rituals that honor your body's need for connection. In my experience, those who commit to restoring physical intimacy often find themselves on a path to greater well-being, not only physically but emotionally and spiritually as well. The body remembers what it once had. It responds to care and presence. Even after years of silence, the potential for renewal remains. You are not destined to a slow, silent decline. Your body holds the capacity to heal, to strengthen, and to thrive. Physical intimacy is a key that unlocks this potential. By nurturing connection and movement, you support the natural cycles of hormones and circulation that keep you vibrant. As a doctor who has witnessed both the decline caused by absence and the healing sparked by reconnection, I encourage you to honor this truth. Your body, your health, and your life depend on it. Over the many years I have spent as a physician caring for older adults, I have come to see that one of the most profound and often overlooked consequences of losing intimacy is its impact on emotional well-being and the very core of a person's identity. This is not something that appears overnight. Rather, it is a slow erosion, a gradual distancing that chips away at self-worth and connection in ways that are painful yet rarely spoken aloud. I remember sitting with a woman named Margaret, a patient in her mid-70s who had been caring for her husband after his battle with cancer. The treatments, though life-saving, had taken a heavy toll on their relationship. Margaret's voice broke as she confessed, "I miss feeling like a partner, not just a caregiver." This simple statement carried a depth of loneliness that words often fail to capture. It was the silence between them, the absence of touch, the lack of closeness that left her feeling invisible, undesired, and profoundly disconnected. What I have learned from countless patients like Margaret is that intimacy is far more than a physical act. It is a bridge to emotional closeness, to feeling seen and valued. When that bridge weakens, it leaves a void that affects self-esteem and identity. For many older adults, particularly those who have been in long-term relationships, intimacy forms the foundation of how they perceive themselves, not just as individuals, but as beloved partners. When intimacy fades, the consequences ripple through every facet of life. Relationships that once thrived on shared affection and mutual support become strained and mechanical. Couples may live under the same roof but exist in emotional isolation. The laughter and warmth give way to routine and silence. One partner may feel rejected, the other may feel guilty or helpless, yet neither voice these feelings openly. This quiet distance often leads to resentment, shame, and a profound sense of loss. For those who are single, widowed, or isolated, the effects can be even more profound. The loss of physical and emotional closeness can lead to feelings of invisibility and abandonment. There is a heartbreaking shrinking of identity, a sense that they are no longer whole or worthy of love. This loneliness is not merely the absence of companionship, but a deep, aching void that affects mental health and overall well-being. I have witnessed how this emotional deprivation can contribute to anxiety, depression, and withdrawal. People may find themselves retreating from social activities, losing interest in things they once loved, and questioning their own value. This is a silent epidemic among seniors, one that often goes unnoticed because it is cloaked in shame and stigma. Yet there is hope. The human heart and spirit possess a remarkable capacity to heal, even after years of distance. Rebuilding emotional connection begins with small, intentional steps, moments of vulnerability, openness, and kindness. I have seen couples rediscover joy and affection in their 70s and 80s, not because their bodies were perfect, but because they chose to reach out, to touch, to listen, and to be present for one another again. Even for those without partners, reconnecting with oneself and others through meaningful friendships, therapeutic touch, or the simple act of allowing oneself to hope can reignite a sense of belonging and worth. The journey back to connection is deeply personal, but it is one that can restore vitality, joy, and a renewed sense of purpose. As a doctor who has walked beside many through these challenges, I encourage you to recognize that your worth is not diminished by age, illness, or loss. You are still deserving of closeness, tenderness, and the deep human need to be seen and loved. The path to healing begins with acknowledging this truth and taking that first courageous step toward rebuilding intimacy, whether with a partner, a friend, or yourself. Remember, emotional connection nourishes the soul just as physical intimacy sustains the body. Together, they form the foundation of a life lived fully, richly, and with meaning. You are not alone in this experience, and your story is far from finished. There is still time for healing, laughter, and love. It starts with the belief that you are worthy and the willingness to embrace connection once more. As a doctor who has dedicated a lifetime to understanding the aging process, I have come to appreciate that one of the most profound truths about longevity is the role of connection specifically, the kind of intimate connection that nurtures both body and soul. When I speak with patients in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, I am often struck by how those who maintain closeness, affection, and emotional intimacy tend to carry with them a vitality that defies age. One man who embodies this truth is Robert, an 81-year-old gentleman I had the privilege of caring for. Robert was proud, fiercely independent, and sharp as a tack. When I asked him what kept him so lively, he smiled and said something simple yet profound. "I still flirt with my wife every morning. We hold each other every night, and sometimes, well, we still make love." His words weren't about physical prowess or youth. They were about connection, joy, and the spark that comes from feeling fully alive. Scientific research supports what Robert lives every day. Regular intimacy, whether physical, emotional, or a blend of both, releases powerful chemicals like oxytocin and endorphins. These substances reduce inflammation, lower blood pressure, and strengthen the heart. They improve sleep, sharpen immunity, and help the nervous system reset as the body ages. Simply put, intimacy is life-giving at a cellular level. What is often overlooked is how the loss of this connection can lead to a cascade of health challenges. When intimacy disappears, stress hormones such as cortisol remain elevated. Sleep becomes restless, the immune system weakens, and anxiety takes root. This creates fertile ground for chronic illnesses and accelerates the aging process. Yet many people accept these declines as normal aging, unaware that disconnection is often the underlying cause. What has given me hope throughout my career is witnessing transformation. I have seen individuals in their 70s and 80s reclaim closeness, rebuild relationships, and literally change how they live and feel. The spark within them, though buried under years of silence, fear, or doubt, can be reignited. The journey back to intimacy, whether with a partner, a friend, or even oneself, is one of renewal. I want to stress this. No matter how long it's been or how far away intimacy may feel right now, it is never too late to start again. The human spirit is resilient, and the body remembers connection even after long absences. Desire may change with age, and bodies may respond differently, but the need for meaningful connection never expires. Rebuilding intimacy does not require grand gestures or immediate physical acts. Often, it begins with a conversation, a hand held gently, or a simple, "I miss you." These small steps create openings where closeness can grow. I encourage those who have drifted apart or feel alone to dare to try to lean into vulnerability and rediscover the warmth of connection. For those who are single, widowed, or isolated, reconnection may start internally. Your body is still worthy of care. Your heart still has space for touch, joy, and companionship. Therapeutic touch, deep friendships, or opening yourself to new possibilities can offer a path forward. The question is not, can I get it back? But am I willing to try? Throughout my years in medicine, I have met countless people who thought their time for intimacy had passed, some burdened by illness, others by shame or distance. But when they allowed themselves to begin again, without pressure or expectation, something remarkable happened. Their energy shifted, their health improved, and most importantly, they started to feel like themselves once more. Your story is not finished. Your next chapter may be your most fulfilling yet. You deserve to feel alive, desired, and connected, not someday in memory, but now. Taking that first step, however small, can open doors to vitality and joy that you may have thought were closed forever. As a doctor, I urge you to hold on to this truth. Life's richest moments come not just from years lived but from connections nurtured. Whether you are in a loving marriage, navigating a strained relationship, or seeking new connections, intimacy is a cornerstone of well-being that nourishes your mind, body, and spirit. So ask yourself, If a small step could bring back vitality, joy, and deeper connection, what would stop you from taking it? Remember, you are not too old. You are not too far gone. Your story isn't over, and the best is yet to come. After spending many years as a physician working closely with older adults, I've come to realize that intimacy is far more than a simple aspect of life. It is a vital thread that weaves together our physical health, mental clarity, emotional well-being, and the very essence of feeling alive. When intimacy fades, the consequences ripple through our brain, body, and relationships in profound ways that are often overlooked or misunderstood. The loss of connection can lead to accelerated brain aging, diminished hormone levels, weakened circulation, and a decline in self-worth and emotional closeness. It quietly steals vitality and shortens lifespan, yet these effects often go unspoken, hidden behind assumptions that they are simply part of getting old. But they are not inevitable. What I have witnessed time and again is the remarkable ability of the human spirit and body to heal and rejuvenate, when given the chance to reconnect with a partner, with others, and even with oneself. The lessons from this understanding are clear. Intimacy is not a luxury reserved for youth or the physically perfect. It is a fundamental human need that nourishes every part of us. It can be rekindled at any age through small, meaningful steps, whether a conversation, a gentle touch, or simply the willingness to hope again. These moments reignite the chemicals in our brain that protect cognition, restore hormonal balance that fuels physical health, and rebuild emotional bonds that sustain our identity and happiness. Applying these lessons in daily life starts with awareness and courage. Recognize the importance of intimacy not just for pleasure, but as a cornerstone of holistic health. Don't dismiss feelings of disconnection or decline as just aging. Instead, take small actions to foster closeness. Reach out to a loved one, embrace vulnerability, seek physical affection in its many forms, and nurture friendships that provide warmth and companionship. If you are single or alone, remember that connection can begin within through self-care, meaningful social interactions, or professional support. As a community, sharing experiences and supporting one another in this journey is crucial. The path to reclaiming intimacy and vitality is deeply personal, but also universal. Together, we can break the silence and offer hope to those who may feel isolated or forgotten. I would like to invite you now to reflect and share your thoughts. What is one small step you feel ready to take today toward rekindling connection in your life? Please write your answer by commenting A or B below. A. I'm ready to take a step toward reconnecting intimacy in my life. B. I'm not sure yet, but I want to learn more. Your voice matters, and your openness can inspire others to begin their own journey. If you found this message meaningful, please consider subscribing to the channel to receive more content designed to support your well-being. Also, if you are able and willing, a donation, no matter the amount, would deeply encourage me to continue creating valuable videos for this community. As someone who is also getting older, I dedicate my time to sharing knowledge that uplifts and empowers, and your support makes this possible. Thank you for being part of this conversation and for your willingness to embrace connection, healing, and life.